Welcome to the show we like to call For the Love of Real Estate, where we dive into what it means to buy or sell a home in today's world. Join host Jill Elliott, Dallas broker associate and former radio personality, as she marries her two loves, radio and real estate. She's going to have you asking yourself, for the love of real estate, should I tackle my fears and buy, rent, sell, or remodel?
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here on For the Love of Real Estate. If you could like or follow us, that would be great. And if you're a home buyer or seller, then this is definitely the show for you. We're going to talk inspections with the one and only and the best realtor in Kansas City, Mike Connors. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hi, Jill. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Happy New Year, friend.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe a good realtor, but evidently a low on the technological scale, right? Is that me?
We can say boomer for a reason, right? We don't know what we're doing. That's why we have our people that help us and keep us straight so we can get this information out to you. Funny enough, though, we were talking this morning and you were actually going to a septic inspection on a house that you have under contract. And that's the glamorous life of realtors, right? Isn't it?
It is, especially in Kansas. And you're close, but it's we've already had the septic inspection. I was on my way to do an inspection of a geothermal heating unit that uses the lake that it sits on.
Oh my gosh!
To run it. So yeah, it's
wow.
Kansas. That's all we are is cornfields and lakes. So wheat fields, lakes, corn, cows, everything we do has a septic.
But I'll tell you what, though, inspections are important. And we've seen kind of have a little bit of ebb and flow with, we're not, a lot of people are waiving inspections. And there are times that you could do that, actually, believe it or not. But really, rule of thumb, especially right now, because we were going to talk a little bit about our markets, because I'm in the Dallas market, he's in the Kansas City market. There was a time when people did that, considered that, but it's probably never a good idea, especially in this market. Correct?
Agreed. Yeah, I'm glad that you picked this topic today, because I think this is such an important topic, and it's a great way to protect your buyers. For that matter, it's a great way to protect everybody from
it is.
Stuff
it
down
really
the road.
is.
But
something I want to mention, though, because in some cases, like if there was an inspection that was done like 2 days prior and somebody walked on it and the seller had done all of the work. I've had that happen. And so in that point, I think that's okay, because if you could still do it for your own purpose, but if there's something that they have done, because chances are they have that other inspection report, so they have knowledge, that seller. So if they show you that, I've had that happen before, so there are instances, but in most cases, if you don't have information, the best thing to do is get an inspector. And and the thing about them is they are jacks of all trades, right? So
yep. This is the biggest investment that most people will make in their lifetime. So I'm always a proponent of doing as many things as you can and as much as you can to make sure that investment is protected. And we've talked about surprises before on our little discussions and how much we hate them. And I think the more that you know about the house, the fewer surprises you'll have going down the road. And although you can't avoid all the surprises, you can do your best. And you do that, I think, a lot through inspections.
Yeah, definitely. And, sometimes there are just things inspectors, can't see. They can't, there are instances where you might have a termite inspection, but before closing, something happens, nobody realizes it, and that can change. That's always gut-wrenching or heart-wrenching, but, for the most part, they can tell you what is going on at the time of inspection, but having little thknow that need to be fixed. And, Mike, I read this book one time. It's called Things You Didn't Know About Real Estate.
Right.
Have you heard of that?
That's an okay book. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've read it a couple
great
times.
Book. I know the author quite well, So, and actually, Mike, you wrote this book. We talked about this a long time ago. You have a lot of good information on Chapter 5, the buyer's home inspection. One of my favorite things is your little guy sitting here going, I've saved so much, of my money over time, and now I'm just going to skip the inspection. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no, it
never
doesn't
a
work
good
that way,
idea.
does it?
If there hasn't been one done, within like a day or two.
Yeah, I think too, as real estate agents, we always try to do what's best for our clients, and we try to inform them as much as we can. But we could probably, and this would really be probably boring radio. You and I could probably share horror stories about things that have happened maybe post closing, even though you had inspections. So I just think
Hmm.
it's so important to have inspections. And I always tell people, you know how much I'm a fan of eliminating surprises, like I said. And I tell people for the first 12 months you live in this house, regardless of what we've done, you're going to discover little things and little idiosyncrasies about the house. And you're buying a used house, so it's not perfect. And we talk about, well, why is this like this, or why is this messed up? Well, originally the house was built by humans, and then it was lived by
Hmm.
humans, and none of us are perfect, including the inspectors. So I think preparing your clients, doing as much as you can to do your due diligence and discovery about the house is great. And we can talk about the types of inspections that you can do in a bit, I guess. But um, I think it's also important to prepare your clients that as the days unfold after you move in, there are always things that are going to come up, or that you're going to find, or that might surprise you, or you might not be happy about. And that's just kind of the nature of buying a new house, or a new resale house. So
It is. And I also think that there are ways to protect yourself, like a home warranty. You could probably have a love-hate relationship with them. But for the
mhm.
most part, if you can at least get that for the first year, which back in the day when we were seeing all this craziness, a lot of people were either paying for their own and then they weren't really following through and buying that after closing.
Uh-huh.
So little big things, little things that could have been not turned into big things sometimes happen. I
Uh-huh.
always tell now sellers, now this is probably on the other side though, but a seller, you have to, let's use the air conditioning as an example. It's
Mhm.
always good to have that serviced, because if you haven't
Mhm.
had it serviced in 2 or 3 years, sure, it may come back fine on an inspection. But if a home warranty hasn't seen that there has been some due diligence on that air conditioner or the HVAC,
Mhm.
then
Yep.
they're going to call it out, because
Yep.
you have to take care of it. You have to maintenance. You have to give maintenance to your things. It just is how it works.
Yeah, that's a great point. Many times I will recommend to a client that he should have an HVAC company come out as a separate inspection, just to put the seal of approval on the HVAC. Because if that happens when they bought the house and you do have to call in a warranty company, then you're golden, because it was a professional that said it
Right.
was in working order. And even though an inspector is not a professional, he's not a dedicated professional to one particular space or industry, or HVAC, roof, whatever. But that's one way to do it. I think that's a great thought.
Oh, definitely. And then, so let's say a buyer says, oh, well, I want the roof inspected. There's one or two ways they can handle it. They could call a roofer
Hmm.
and have a roofer come out, or they could ask the seller to have their insurance adjuster come out. Now, there's two
Uh-huh.
different things, because if the insurance adjuster says no, at least here in Texas, chances are it's probably no. However, you could still have your own either insurance company or roofer go out, because your insurance rates, it's possible that they could change. Not in all cases, but if that insurance company feels like that roof is a little bit out of their own range, then they could call
Hmm.
out. So that's again something else. And again, these are all just steps to the process, and
Hmm.
how that they can be handled moving forward.
Yeah, you mentioned something on the phone. Seems like it was a long time ago when we talked. It was like seven
Oh,
o'clock
it
this
was. Yeah,
morning, and you were driving and I was
this day's gone
driving,
on
and we were on
forever.
on our way to our first stops of the day. But you mentioned
I wasn't
something
going
about
anywhere, Mike. I am socked. Wait, hang on. I am socked in here in Dallas right now. So just to,
well,
whenever people are listening, and you're up there in Kansas, two
it's
states
a
ahead
nice
of
summer
me,
day here. It's like
and you
50
should be
degrees.
freezing. I know. I don't get that.
I'm just kidding.
I was
It's not
like,
50.
wait a
It's
minute. I
cold.
should be out running around.
I know that was a little bit of a twist of fate there this morning when you
It
called
is.
me in Kansas, and I'm driving down a road on a bright sunny day, and you're getting iced in at the same time.
Oh,
That
my.
was just kind of odd. It was odd.
Yeah, really odd. So,
Felt like it should
so
have
we
been
had a
the other way. But
conversation this morning.
you mentioned something this morning, and you talked about the five parts of the house, and my inspector that I use most often talks about this all the time. And you had mentioned three, and then you rifled off the other two. And do you want to share that with your listeners, and
Yeah,
we can kind of talk about
I
that?
call it the big three, or really, and then we decided it was really the top five.
It is.
But
It's
the big
five.
three is
It's
the
five.
roof.
Yep.
Yeah, the roof, the foundation, and the HVAC, and then I always
Mm-hmm.
kind of had a little bit of the electrical, and then the plumbing.
Yep.
However. I really think electrical and plumbing, it just needs to be the big five that really have to be in
It
order.
is.
I
It
think.
is. It's the big five.
Yeah.
In fact, my inspector has a manual where he talks about those are the big five. And I think what's interesting about those five main parts, and you mentioned roof, HVAC, foundation, electric, plumbing. Those are five areas when you can also have specialists come out if he or she finds something that needs further investigation. So that's what I was doing today when you talked to me when I was heading out to that place. He checked the HVAC, and it's a geothermal system. And he said, there's just some stuff I want checked. And so we had a specialist come out. This afternoon on a listing I had my roofer going to, the roof needs to be replaced. We found that out during the buyer's inspection. And so we're in the process of getting second opinions and bids and things like that. But those five areas, I mean, those are the most important areas of the house. And there's just, you can't over inspect. There's other things obviously that we can inspect, but I think those five things in general and the general inspection are the most important. And that's what made last spring so difficult too, is
Yeah.
so many people were waiving inspections, and I had it happen once. I gave them the big talk about, here's what could possibly happen. You have to be ready for it. It's kind of reckless, but if you want the house, this is what you're gonna have to do. And I hate it, but that was kind of a reality last spring, and now I'm happy that it's not anymore.
I am too, and I think that because in general, especially because we're seeing more FHA loans here in Texas, and there are just a few
Mm-hmm.
things that just that they come in. You can't have broken windows with FHA. You can't have wood rot, those kinds
Mm-hmm.
of things. So I think it's important to look at everything and then decide, well, if you have a conventional loan, you may not get the wood rot fixed, but you might get something else fixed. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? So, yeah, I think that they've eased up a lot. But I also think that you have to know, it's not like you have to know when to walk away, and you have to know when to run, and you have to know when to stay,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think?
Yeah,
Because if
I agree.
you notice in certain eras of houses, if it's house between, usually if it's decently taken care of, maybe it was built between 1980 and 1990, there's going to be certain features, there's going to be certain things that weren't maybe code that are now. And same with the 90s up to 2000. And boy, I'm just dating myself. I can't even get to 2023, but that's what I mean.
It's okay. We
there
all
are
know
just
you were
certain
selling real estate when you were 7. It's okay.
That's it. Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? Like, there are just certain things that they're not going to, maybe a seller might not do because it wasn't code. The GFCI switches come to mind. This might be something
Yep.
that you have to do if you want to buy an older home. So,
Yep.
but it doesn't mean that older home is bad by any stretch. It just means that there were different codes and different ways to look at things. So certain houses, you might get certain things based on age, whereas certain ones you might not based on age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, and it might be worth just kind of noting that we've been doing this long enough now that we've seen, meaning your podcast, with that we've seen a market shift through the course of your podcast. And
isn't that wild?
Now, yeah. And now for the first time, we are back to getting houses for sales for the asking price, maybe out of the gate. We're back to actually doing inspections and not taking everything in its present condition. We're back to possibly asking for a repair in many cases. And I find that incredibly good and more comforting for clients that I have. It makes me nervous when people have to waive inspections or when they have to take something in its present condition. I don't like it. And so, we've kind of come full circle in the course of your podcast. I just thought of that. And that's really kind of cool.
Wow.
We've gone from a market we've never seen before in that people are paying just exponentially crazy amounts over asking, to waiving inspections, to giving up children, to, buying people
just
cases of wine,
yeah.
to get a house, to now we're back. I saw the other day, Jill, here in Kansas City, the average sales price to list price is it's right at 99, a little bit over 99%. And 8 months ago, it was 103%, something like that. The number of homes on the market is going up, but contracts taken are down. We're just doing a complete shift. And you and I have kind of gone through this whole thing together, and it's kind of fun to be able to talk about. It would have been pointless to talk about inspections 8 months ago. I mean, it really would.
Yeah.
An inspection, what's that? Do we get to do that? I mean, it's
exactly. Unless you had an inspector on. Yeah, I had one of my favorite inspectors on, but we talked about it in a different way. So he gave it to me from the
employed at the time.
Oh man, he's the inspection houseman, rock star. But what I'm saying though is that he gave it to us from the inspector standpoint, but we're giving it to you from the realtor standpoint, which is different because each of our situations, just like theirs, is different. So because some people may go, you know what, I can fix this. My dad is a appliance guy, or my family's been in construction, so they can blah, blah, blah. So sometimes you have to almost let your clients know, do you have any resources that could work? Because we are still seeing low inventory in Dallas. Even though we have a lot of homes on the market, we're still seeing lower inventory because I think it kind of goes across price points sometimes too. So maybe in certain price points in the 2+ million, 2 million plus, it might be so many homes. And then in the, million to 2, it's a little bit different time, 500 to a million. Do you see what I'm saying? Like of how long they sit on the market. So that being said, it's sort of like you have to say, well, what is the most important thing? Because I do really like this house, and am I getting this? Am I getting new pipes underneath the house, like the PVC pipes? But I may have to, the AC is working, but if I have a home warranty and some good insurance, my home warranty is good, that could possibly be something that gets fixed by them down the road. Something like that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
What do you have to bargain with? There has to be a give and take because the seller's, not going to do every single window. And eventually those windows are going to have to be replaced. So, is it worth it? Yeah. Or do you just go right and do a new build? We had a fun little conversation about new builds in Dallas versus new builds in Kansas City, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit if you want. I think that was an interesting conversation we had.
I thought it was it was so interesting what you said about how builders, because I was just talking about that it's more expensive with your square footage. So if you think a 2,500 square foot house should be this price, it's really going to be about $200K more right now. And that I think freaks people out a little bit because they're used to getting maybe 3,500 square feet for a starting price of $500,000 or $600,000. Now you're getting that with about 2,300 square feet, depending on where you are in our area. And then what you said just totally blew me away.
Which part are you talking about? How they've changed the building?
The part where you said that
what they've eliminated. Yeah.
Yes,
so it's interesting. What I have seen. We have builders here that obviously not the large tract home builders, but we have a lot of builders that in the fall and this winter that I had heard that hadn't signed a new build contract for 2 months, 3 months. It had been several months. But what I saw here is the way that the prices kept rising and they kept shrinking the square footage. And it eventually got to a point where the only thing you got on the main floor, obviously it's cheaper to build up than it is out. So a 2-story would have the hearth room area or the main living space and a kitchen and a half bath.
Yeah.
That's it.
I know.
No dining room.
Like that's it on the first floor. No dining.
Yeah, that's it.
No master bath, bedroom.
No,
I mean,
no,
primary,
no,
excuse me.
no, no, no,
So,
no office, um, no laundry room off the garage. I mean, it was a hearth, a kitchen, and a half bath. That was it.
wow. And
Yeah.
what does that price point start at? Do you know? Depending on where you
Well,
are, your average?
for us, yeah. I mean, you can do the math. You're looking at 23 to 2,600 square feet, and you're looking at six to $800,000.
Wow. But to build up like that, like just to have that little part, like you'd have to have for 2,600 square feet, you'd have to have quite a big upstairs. So it's almost, I don't know how that footprint is. I can't even
Yeah,
see it in my head.
I mean, it's not. The hearth area is large. The hearth area is 20 feet by 18 feet, and the kitchen is large. It's just a
Okay.
big open space on the main level,
Yeah.
and then you might
But
have
it's
four
cheaper than putting a
bedrooms, two
room,
more
is
baths
what
upstairs. Yeah,
I get.
yep. It's
Yeah.
just less money, and I guess to not completely throw builders under the bus. I mean, they were paying a lot more for supplies, obviously. And then finally, towards the fall, we started seeing supply costs come down. And what people don't understand is, why isn't the price of house coming down? It's because they buy stuff ahead of time. So it's always like a 3 or 4 month delay.
Right.
It's not because it comes down nationally that they haven't previously bought 6 months of supplies for twice the money it costs. So it was just an interesting thing. And I in 2008, my wife was a real estate agent, and the same thing happened then when the housing market kind
Yep.
of slowed down, or say kind of slowed
Mm-hmm.
down, really slowed down. They were building the same spec homes, but they were just shrinking the square footage. So
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're seeing
yeah.
too. But it is weird to not to have a new build, and if it's a 2-story, to not even have a primary bedroom downstairs, because that's so important to people right now, because a lot of people are having their families come lived with them, and they may not be able to get up the stairs. I know when my mom and dad would come to visit, or my mother-in-law, it's a good thing we have a room downstairs with a full bath,
Uh-huh.
because that way she doesn't have to get up the stairs. So it's just I think it's just the world that we're going to, because I have just noticed that, and how much smaller lots are and things like that. So when people say, "Where's my land? I moved to Texas," I'm like, "Oh, I can get you land," but it might be a little bit more, and
Come on
especially
up
in
here.
the
We got
Dallas area.
plenty of that too.
I know you guys have so much land. That's what I mean. I don't know why y'all aren't doing sprawling 1-stories. I just don't get it.
Yeah. The only people building ranches anymore are really high-end custom home builders. I mean, you don't see them very
Yeah,
often.
that's true. Yeah, that's true, but as far as that goes, I actually even say you still need a home inspection with a new build, by the way, just a little
You
FYI.
do.
Do it on about month 10. So let's say you have a builder warranty for 1 year, then what you should probably do is about month 10, have an inspector come in and then give them a little punch list to go ahead and, help you out before that year is up, should anything be done that you might not be aware of.
Jill, that was a great tie-in between our two topics today. I thought you did that brilliantly. Just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah. New construction inspections. There you have it.
There you have it. And but one more thing, because of what I read in the book, Mike, things you didn't know about real estate, is that you should take your inspection report as a buyer, and over that 12-month, just go through a little punch list and get a few things done that would help you moving forward, to just know what's going on with the house. Most people, let's face it, put it in a drawer and that's it, right?
Yeah. So we actually we give a big at closing. We give a big binder, and it's got so much stuff in there. And Natalie could rattle it off quicker than I can. But home warranties and closing docs and inspection docs and all that
your stuff.
And, and it's tabbed out, and we tell people use this as your punch list, and just over time, just these are the things that you need to knock off. So that's a great idea. And you had mentioned inspections with new construction. New construction, there are just as many things with new construction as many resale homes. And I tell people that an inspection from a third-party source in that scenario is never a bad thing. It's never a waste of
No,
money.
it's not. But you do. It's kind of like a car. If I buy if I have a used car and I buy it and I get the entire bumper to bumper warranty, the most I can get. So again, like a new build, they may have these little things that may need to be punched, but they usually won't hold up closing on those tiny things. They can be done after closing because you still have that time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's, and make sure you're on that too with your new build because you only have a year. So you want to get on that, learn how to use that website, because now they put you on the websites and say, put in your order or whatever, or what you think needs to be checked out and, go from there. That's a very important thing with new builds too.
Yep.
That's true.
You are correct.
I'll tell you what, Mike, it's always a joy. It's always a pleasure. So
we got to talk twice today. That was fun.
I know. That's right. That's right. And then I'm thinking, my gosh, I would almost give anything to be in my car right now driving somewhere. And hopefully we can do that tomorrow. So
good. I'll say a prayer for you. I'll say a prayer for you.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much for joining us. I've been talking with Mike Connors, the best realtor in Kansas City, right? The best, the most
City
qualified,
with no ice.
You name it.
That's right. Yep.
The city with no ice. Please give us a like and follow us. I'm Jill Elliott. You can contact me at 469-500-1300, JillElliottHomes.com. And Mike, how can someone get a hold of you real quick?
We are at the Connors Savage Group.com. Connors Savage Group is on Facebook. 913-433-4901 and probably some other stuff that I'm forgetting. So
just Google him.
Did I say all that right? I mean, you know where to find me.
I don't know. Exactly. Hey, we'll see you next time for The Love of Real Estate.
Thank you for tuning into For the Love of Real Estate. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to fortheloveofrealestate.biz to join the conversation, access the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter.